Hey guys, Mike here. So today we're going to talk about Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway. Obviously, he's probably the most famous investor in history, probably, and one of the most successful. And so when he makes moves, people pay attention. But in this video, we're going to talk about and really start a conversation about why he bought 2 or 3 stocks that he bought, and I'm going to break down why, and then also why he sold some stocks. Because Warren Buffett, he definitely looks far out, but he also likes to pay the macro, right, of what's going to happen in certain cycles and things of that nature. And so at least I think that's what he's doing here, and you can always put in the comments if you think differently. And if we look at this, what they did in the last 13F filing, this is in the fourth quarter recently here, you can see in the largest trades, you got Chevron and Oxy, so 2 oil companies, right? He buys 15 million shares and 4 million shares respectively. And then he makes another interesting purchase, which really nobody talks about, with SiriusXM Holdings and then Liberty Media Corp. And that one is a brilliant move by him and his people, and I'll explain why. Now, of course, everybody's going to talk about the sales, right? And they go, wait a minute, he sold Apple. He sold Apple. We're going to talk about that. But he also sold every single share he had in D.R. Horton, which is a home builder. Why would he sell D.R. Horton and buy oil companies? That's really the big question. And it comes down to this. Is he positioning for 2024, or is he just buying at certain levels? And it can be either one, which we're going to look at the chart in a second and show you. Because a lot of you, and I didn't even know this until probably 6 months ago, because I don't trade oil or invest in oil or anything like that, in oil companies. But when you look at the chart, there's something very strange. You would think to yourself, if you think a recession's coming, why would you buy oil companies? That doesn't make any sense, does it? Or does it? And when you look at U.S. oil, you can see right now what's it doing? It's hitting this trend line. Well, this is what we talk about with the technicals. That trend line right there goes all the way back to 1998. And this is not a logarithmic scale or anything. You can see it was support for many years. It was resistance for many years. And it's been support again over the last 3 years. Okay? And so another thing you might notice is, there's a recession. Oil's running up. That can't be. It's a recession. Demand's going to be down. Oh, look at that one. Right? That's very strange. Looks like oil goes up during a recession. Right? And I've had people explain this in the comments and everything, the guys who really invest in oil and stuff. And that, put in the comments if that surprises you, because you would think like 2020 was obvious. Why did it go down here? We shut down the world. People literally could not drive their cars around. They were like locked down. Okay, that's a totally different time of recession. But the other ones, you see as plain as day, oil went up. Now, if oil's going up, most likely oil companies would go up, right? And you see Chevron. So this is the technical part of it. What's Chevron doing, right? It's coming into this demand zone where it's still bouncing right now, right? That's been there since 2014. And so it's coming back down in here. He's buying, right? And so that makes sense from a technical perspective of why he's buying. We'll look at Oxy in just a second. But when you go back and you look, what's going on during recessions? Chevron's going up, right? At least it's holding up very well. And don't forget they pay dividends. And who loves dividends? Warren Buffett loves his dividends. He gets hundreds of billions for Berkshire Hathaway, okay? And so I know this is surprising, again, but it's going to go up. Again, 01 was a weird one, but you see it spiking up months before the recession hit right there. And you go back here, going up right there as well. Look at that one. And these are big moves, right, that it's actually moving up in. This is, what is it, the 80s, 70s, and 80s or something like that. And so, again, could this be wise? Is he positioning, thinking, wow, there's going to be a recession this year maybe? Or it's just a technical bounce, or it's both, right? Because he's actually buying at the right time. Oxy loves it between, 51, 53. This thing's been bouncing since June of 2022. All right, at this level. And so he loves to load up at this level. And so far, it's worked out for him very well. Okay. And again, if we just scroll back, Oxy's another one too. This one right here will absolutely go up during a real recession, not a 2020 recession where you can't drive your cars or anything. We can't have oil tankers going around the world. It goes up. See what I mean? Oh, wait, right there. .com bubble. And so the question is, and guys, before we continue, if you could hit that like button for me, I sure would appreciate it. It helps people find this video and everything. And also, if you like the content, think about subscribing, guys. Do you think he's just positioning for what could be a recession this year, which oil seems to be a good thing? And I know a lot of people right now talking about this rotation back into XLE, the oil stocks, things like nature, because of the areas they are all coming in and they're bouncing, and oil's coming in and it's bouncing, and maybe you're looking at once the yield curve uninverts. If you saw my video yesterday, is that what's gonna cause a recession? And so that could be it. But also, let's be real. Like we said, the technicals on the charts look good. I mean, if you're getting in there right now, Warren tends to, and Berkshire Hathaway tends to be, longer thinking, of course. And so, especially when it comes to Oxy. But just let me know in the comments what you think. I think it's actually both, personally. Because look, Warren Buffett's not in front of a computer. I don't think he has one on his desk going click buy, click sell. He has a huge team at Berkshire Hathaway with very smart people that have a lot to do with these purchases, okay? We just give it to him because obviously he's the CEO. So let me know what you think about that one. Now, the other ones that he purchased, this was a genius move. You can see not just Berkshire, but also hedge funds plow into this one. I'm going to explain this one and just literally read this in simplest terms so you understand what's happening here. So Berkshire holds about 21% of what they call a tracker stock, right? Which is SiriusXM or Liberty SiriusXM Holdings. And so they have about 69 million shares. They purchased more, I believe, in January. Now, here's why they're so excited about this. So Liberty SiriusXM Holdings trades at a discount of about 30% to value of its stake in SiriusXM. Under the terms of a deal reached by Liberty Media with SiriusXM in December, the tracking stock effectively will merge with SiriusXM and the tracker holders will get stock in new SiriusXM. Here's the math. Liberty SiriusXM has two liquid classes of tracking stock, which, by the way, Warren Buffett owns both of these, okay? And so what's going to happen in here is Liberty SiriusXM holders stand to get about 8.4 shares of new SiriusXM stock for each of their shares under the terms of the deal, while existing SiriusXM holders will see a 1-for-1 swap. The value of the stock to be received by the Liberty SiriusXM holders under the complex deal is about $45 per share, 8.4 times 537. The deal is due to close early in the third quarter, so investors who buy the tracker at 31 stand to get $45 in SiriusXM stock in about 6 months. So that is why they made that deal, and you couldn't see one on the thing, but he holds both those and then SiriusXM, okay? So that's why he made that one, for everybody starts going out and running and buying into it. That is why that is happening right there. So genius business move. We'll see how long he actually holds it once it converts over and does all that fun stuff. But it looks like he's going to make a lot of money on that one as usual for his shareholders. Now, the big one is, of course, he sold Apple stock. Oh my goodness. And I got people saying he's never done it before. It's the first time. That is totally not true. You can actually Google this for crying out loud. He has sold Apple stock many times. He sold 10 million shares, right? But understand, the man holds 908 million shares, right? Or the Berkshire Hathaway does. That's a lot of shares, guys, okay? Look how many times he's sold, okay? Multiple times throughout. And normally when he shares, it's because it gets really high and frothy, and he just needs some money to rotate into something else, okay? And that, to me, is what he's doing with this one. And so don't be shocked. And if you look at Apple, let's be real about it. He owns a lot of it. He gets, boatloads of dividends. The amount of dividends he gets just from Apple is jaw-dropping, okay? So he's done a good deal on that. But when you look at Apple earnings, they hadn't been that hot lately when you compare them to other companies, like a Microsoft, for example, who is showing good growth, like an NVIDIA, like many other companies out there. Apple's just not, right? They've been dependent on the older products and then giving you a new iPhone, which kind of looks a little different than the new one, the old one or whatever, and now they're going to come up with an AI product. But, again, it's not one of those high-flying, big movers. It will stay in the range like this for like a long period of time. And it hadn't been making new higher highs on the charts and stuff. And so I'm sure he just said, I'm going to sell, 10 million shares, take that money, and maybe that's what he used to buy Chevron and Oxy, right? Which he expects a big move up on. But he still holds hundreds of millions of shares. And so, again, Apple's one of those things, like if he comes out and sells a boatload of Apple, that's when you'll see Apple absolutely go down, because I think he's the biggest owner in Berkshire Hathaway. I think he's the biggest owner. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one in the comments, please. Now, looking at just for the heck of it, what are other hedge funds buying? What were their biggest purchases and what were their biggest sales, as well as what were the most popular, if you look like the top 5 holdings versus the top 5 like purchases and things like that, and what sector and stuff. And so no surprise on the buys, Microsoft. Number 1, not Apple, Microsoft, which makes sense, total sense to me. I've been making this argument for a while. They should be the biggest, right? And then, of course, you do have Apple, 3rd or 4th on the list, Avgo, QQQ, NVIDIA. No surprise there. When you go over to the sales, you can see they still sell the same kind of stocks, just nowhere near as much as they actually ended up buying. Okay, and so one hedge fund will sell, the other one will pick it right on up, right? But you can see, obviously, Google got quite a bit of sales in there. But when you look at what hedge funds are doing here, this is like the top ones. You look at hyperscalers, semiconductors, e-commerce, software, and you see Amazon, Microsoft, Google, AMD. I don't think any of these should be a surprise. Probably Procore. I never even heard of that one. That was one. Okta was kind of a surprise right there. But when we go down and look at this, and you look at the top holdings, you can see as far as the hyperscalers, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, semiconductors, AMD, NVIDIA, Taiwan Semiconductors, no surprise there, right? Global apps, Meta, Uber, and then payments, Melly, Visa, they're always doing well. But then when you look at the purchases, and we go over here, you can see Amazon, Google, Microsoft. That makes sense, right? They've been on big moves. Semiconductors, ASML versus NVIDIA. Global Commerce, Melly, PDD, which has been on absolute tear, right? Square, which had a good run going for it. And then software, obviously CRM, Okta's, two big ones there. And then medical devices, let me know in the comments if you know this one, DXCM, seem to be popping up a lot. And the reason why I like to look at those and why I'm showing you those today, because you're always asking about them, it gives you ideas to go start looking those tickers up, because you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Billions, really, that are going into these stocks. And some of them you might go, well, what are those right there? And so if you look at them and then pull the chart up and go, okay, this is starting to look like a bullish trend here, pull the volume, a lot more volume going into it. It gives you an idea to say, well, maybe this is where I need to be, because this is where all the big ones are pushing up. And no stocks besides penny stocks get to be able to be pushed up for long term without hedge funds, the Berkshire Hathaways, the Black Rocks, all that stuff going into them. That's just the way it works, okay? And so in some of these, maybe you look at PDD, maybe you look at Okta, DXCM, check it out, see what's going on. So obviously, you know where Amazon's at. I cover that all the time. Google, Microsoft, the big boys. Maybe ASML, right, would be one you look at as a semiconductor. You go, okay, where's it at? It's not at 900 a share yet. So let's see. Maybe I can afford to get a lot of shares in that one. Great. Maybe it's moving up. Maybe the chart looks good. Maybe the fundamentals look good. So it gives you a chance to start researching and know where all this big, gigantic purchases are coming from. And also understand why these stocks are moving like they are, right? Because they have big names behind them and stuff. Especially like a Berkshire Hathaway buys it, because they tend to hold for a long time when they buy stock and stuff. Not that they don't trade in and out. I've seen them do it. But for the most part, they tend to hold at least a year or more on a lot of the stocks. So anyway, hope you guys got something out of that. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you did. Really appreciate you guys. And I'll see you tomorrow to set up the week. All right. Remember, markets close tomorrow. All right. Have a good one.